So what's going on, guys? I am Black Ops Amazing. Welcome back to another video on the channel where today we are going to be taking a look at what many people would consider to be the peak of COD Zombies. And we're going to be looking at a map specifically, which is Origins. Now, if you know me or if you watch the channel, you will know that personally I think BO3 was the peak of Zombies. However, when I think back to, I suppose, my days in school, when I played COD Zombies the most with my friends, it was actually during BO2. I never really played Zombies consistently with other people during BO3. And I even know people that aren't hardcore Zombies fans that didn't really play Zombies during World at War, BO1, 2, 3, 4 even now, but those same people will consistently go back to play BO2 Zombies. And the map that most people I know play is Town. It's really interesting because Town isn't even a proper full Zombies map, it's a small portion of a bigger one, which is Transit. But for some reason, everyone, me included, whenever I wanted a game of Zombies with my friends, we'd always just play Town, not Transit, not Die Rise, Buried. If there was a group of us, we'd always play this map. However, Town isn't what I'm going to be talking about in this video, but instead, it is Origins, and as you can see from the title, unless I change it, but I plan it to be called the peak of Zombies. And by that, I don't really mean Origins specifically was the peak, but I think BO2 as a whole was. Yes, BO3 was bigger, but from my memories, Black Ops 2 Zombies was the game where me and my friends would always go back to if we wanted to play a game of Zombies. Not BO3, not BO1, it was mainly Black Ops 2. And I've seen a ton of comments recently saying, for them, this was the peak. And if I had to pick the best Zombies map on Black Ops 2, it's gotta be Origins. Yes, Town is fun. Transit, it's gotten a little bit better with age, but it's nowhere near the best. Die Rise, no. Buried's a good map. I almost forgot Mob of the Dead, which is a masterpiece, but because Origins was the last map on BO2, and it's also very good, that's what I want to talk about. If you want to check out any of the other videos I've done for this series, so the Horizon Dracker I've recently done, I've also done Nacked, Verrucht. If you want to check any of those videos out, you can find them on the channel, but let's go ahead and take a look at what made Origins so good, why this was the peak for a lot of people of COD Zombies. Origins introduced so many new things that we'd never seen in Zombies before. The Origins crew, outro cutscenes which we hadn't had before, 4 different wonder weapons. We also had loads of unique weapons and items such as the Maxis drone, the G-Strike, the 1-inch punch. Of course, bosses like the Panzer, ways to maneuver around the map being the tank, even though we had seen similar things such as the bus and Transit. The Wonder Fizz was first introduced on Origins. We had loads of new drops, reskins to the mystery box and the Pack-a-Punch machine. There's so much to go through, so let's just take a look at each and every one of these. And the first thing I want to mention is the Origins crew. Without these, the premise characters, the young versions of Richtoff and Takeo Nikolai and Dempsey, Zombies wouldn't be what it is today because this was the first time we were introduced to them. You have to remember, before this, in BO2, these sets of characters were non-existent. We either played with the Victor's crew or the Celebrity Cast in Mob of the Dead. Our usual characters that we'd seen previously in BO1 or World at War, Richtoff and Takeo Nikolai and Dempsey, they weren't playable in BO2 up until the final map, Origins. And then we know what happened after that in BO3, BO4, even now in Cold War. A lot of the story revolved around this set of premise characters. We didn't really see as much of the Ultimus crew from this point on, so in terms of storyline, this was a real turning point. I think the premise characters are a lot better than the Ultimus characters. Not to say Ultimus were bad by any means, but there was just something about the younger versions of Richtoff and Takeo Nikolai and Dempsey that to me was a bit more relatable. Their interactions between one another was a lot nicer, whereas their older versions were more hostile. It's debatable whether they were more funny or not, but I preferred premise and they fit Origins perfectly. And obviously we had other characters such as Samantha, Dr. Monty's scarf. In the intro cutscene we saw Maxis getting his, skull cut open and his brain taken out by Richtofen. The intro cutscene is extremely good. The outro cutscene, if I'm not wrong in saying, this was the first outro we ever had in Zombies. Previously everything happened in game, but this was an actual cutscene where we were also first introduced to the children, Samantha and Eddie. And that outro cutscene itself was a mystery for years and years up until the next game, BO3. Even further on, towards the end of that game's life cycle in Revelations, we were wondering for the longest time what the ending to Origins meant. Did it mean that Zombies was just made up in the heads of these 2 small children? Were we just figments of their imagination? That was the main theory. The story in this map, us having to rescue Samantha from Agatha and bring her to the house. Little did we know during that time it was Dr. Monty's. Yeah, the story in this map for me is pretty much a 10 out of 10. Origins was basically a reset of the timeline. What we knew about Group Round 3-5 before was totally different to what we learned about Group 935 in this map. But yeah, the story wasn't the only amazing thing in Origins. As I mentioned earlier, there were a ton of great weapons which made this map so good. Starting off with the wonder weapons, the staffs. I've always said that whenever we have 4 wonder weapons in a map, it's a lot better than having one, because it means that more than one person in your game, if you're playing co-op, can actually get the wonder weapon. And 2, it also means, especially with the staffs here and the different elements, each person is useful for different scenarios. And it also helps when the wonder weapons are fun and actually good like the staffs were. Still talking about weapons, we also had the zombie shield and the Maxis drone. The Maxis drone being unique to Origins, we have had shields and zombies before. It was basically the quad rotor flying thing from the multiplayer of the campaign, but it was Dr. Maxis inside. It was his brain inside of this drone. It could do many different things, such as shooting zombies, picking up power-ups, reviving down players, although it didn't last particularly long before it had to go in charge again, but still a nice addition, and it could also be upgraded as well during the Easter egg. There is more though. Another new weapon specific to Origins was the G-Strike. I would say it's a better version of the monkey bomb. So you activate it, zombies get attracted to it, and then, like the monkey, when a bunch of zombies have surrounded the G-Strike, it actually launches rockets from the giant robots in the map, which will hit where the G-Strike is, killing the zombies. A lot more powerful than the monkey bomb. The only problem is you can only use it outside, so if you're in a tunnel or the crazy place, the rockets from the robots obviously can't hit the zombies. And then the final unique weapon to this map was the 1-inch punch. If I had to describe this, it's a melee weapon that gives you basically powers. It allows you to punch zombies very hard. It replaces your regular knife. It's a 1-hit kill up until round 19 if I remember correctly, and it's very fun. All of the weapons on Origins, the staffs, the shield, the Maxis drone, G-Strike, the 1-inch punch, they were just fun. The next thing I want to talk about is the boss, which is the Panzer Soldat. We've seen him twice in Zombies now, first in Origins, but also he came back in Der Eisendrache. I think the Origins one was more difficult to deal with because of the round that he spawned in on, and also because of the mud in Origins, having to go against the mud, running away from the Panzer. But yeah, one thing's for sure is you've got to make sure that you're prepared for this guy, because when he does spawn in for the very first time, you better start praying. On one arm, he's got a flamethrower, and the other, he's got a grapple. Both of these together work very well on Origins. In his case, not in ours. Yeah, this guy still scares me to this day. And there were also other zombie types like the Crusader and the Templar zombies, but they didn't really work any different to the normal undead. Next up, we have the alternate way of transiting around this map, which was the tank. I would say even on Origins, having different ways to move around maps was still relatively new, although, to be honest, I never really used the tank that much, besides from getting the parts to the staffs. Just using it in general wasn't something I did a lot because it was slow. The zombies could catch up. It didn't take that much longer to walk around the map anyway, and it only has 2 stops, although you can jump on and off when you want, but warning, when you do jump off, you're probably not going to catch up to it. So was the tank that useful? Honestly, no. If it wasn't there, I don't think it'd make that much of a difference, and it does cost points to activate, but hey, I'd rather have it than not. Quickly, also as I mentioned earlier, the Wonder Fizz was first introduced on Origins as well, a staple in Zombies now. Even in Cold War we have the Wonder Fizz. It's a nice addition to the game. It allows you to purchase all of the perks in one location instead of having to run around the map to each and every perk location. But the Wonder Fizz was a great addition to Zombies, and then yet another thing unique to this map was that there was 3 new power-ups. The first one was the Zombie Blood, which was absolutely perfect for Origins. It basically turned our characters into a zombie, so I would say the main advantage of this was the zombies would ignore us for a certain amount of time, and also we could move quicker through the mud just like a zombie. There was also Blood Money, very similar to another drop called Bonus Points. It would give you a random amount of cash ranging from 25 points to 500 points. Interestingly, what you might not know is if you actually kill zombies near the Blood Money power-up, when it's on the ground, you can actually get more points from it, and unlike normal power-ups, it doesn't spawn from zombies. Instead, you have to get it by dig spots. And then the third and final new drop was the empty perk bottle, which essentially gave you an extra slot to purchase perks. And then finally, my favourite thing about this map was the giant robots, Thor, Odin, and Freya. This map I don't think would be anywhere near as good without them, even if they're not that useful, besides from the G-Strike rockets coming from them and us being able to get inside of them to collect parts to the staffs. Ultimately, it isn't their usefulness that makes them so good, but just how amazing it is to see 3 giant robots strolling around a zombies map. This had never been done in Zombies before. I don't think COD Zombies was ever close to the scale of this, and like I said earlier, even after BO3, 4, Cold War, I haven't loaded into a zombies map, looked up and thought, wow, and I still do that when I'm playing Origins. Years later, they were such a good addition to this map. It does add a challenge having to avoid their feet, but yeah, there we go. Origins, one of the best maps ever. Let me know if you agree in the comments section below. Let me know your thoughts, but there we go. That's all I have for you for today's video. As always, hopefully you have enjoyed. If you have, drop a like rating. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest content on the channel, and as always, I'll see you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.